Hello everybody, my name is Cole Wymore, and today we'll be talking about Iowa FFA members' exposure to firearm-related injury and death and their attitudes regarding firearms. In the shadow of recent firearm shootings in schools and the rise in teen suicide, youth have become leading voices raising concerns about firearm-related death and injury. In 2017, gun deaths reached their highest level since 1968. In 2017, there were a total of 39,773 deaths by firearms. Of those deaths, almost 24,000 were suicides, and over 14,000 were homicides. Additionally, the rate of firearm deaths per 100,000 people has increased in recent years. In 1999, the rate was 10.2 deaths per 100,000, while in 2017 that number climbed to 12 deaths per 100,000 people. This equates to 109 firearm deaths per day. The objective of this study was to understand FFA members' personal experience with firearm-related death and injury, and to determine FFA members' attitudes regarding firearms. A survey was administered to attendees of the 2019 FFA Leadership Conference at the University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital safety booth. Demographics, information on personal experiences with firearms, and personal beliefs about firearm-related issues were collected. Descriptive and comparative analysis were performed using SPSS. The results: 1,382 FFA members completed the survey. Their ages ranged from 13 to 18 years old, 50% were male, 96% of those surveyed were Caucasian. In regards to where they lived, just over half lived on a farm, just under a fifth lived in the country but not on a farm, and 29% lived in town. In regards to participants' exposure to firearms, nearly 5% reported having personally seen someone being threatened by a firearm. Of these individuals, 36% stated they saw a family member being threatened, 37% saw a friend being threatened, 11% said they themselves were being threatened, and 26% saw an individual not in these previous categories being threatened. Over 1/3 of participants stated they personally knew someone who had been killed or injured by a firearm. Of these, 69% knew of someone who had died or was injured by a firearm accidentally. 30% knew of someone who was killed or injured by a firearm on purpose. Of those who personally knew someone who had been killed or injured by gunfire, over a third knew of a family member that had been killed or injured, nearly half knew a friend who had died or was injured, and over a fourth personally knew of someone else who had been injured or killed by a firearm. Sadly, 3 participants stated they themselves had been injured by a firearm. Participants were asked to indicate how much they agreed or disagreed to the statement, "The rights to use firearms for hunting and sport should be kept legal." The vast majority of participants, 94%, either strongly agreed or agreed to this statement. 4% of participants were neutral, and only 1% of participants disagreed and strongly disagreed to the statement, "The rights to use firearms for hunting and sport should be kept legal." Those with higher proportions that agreed to the statement that firearms for hunting and sport should be kept legal include males, those with rifles and shotguns in the home, those with handguns in the home, and those that hunted. Participants were also asked to indicate how much they agreed or disagreed to the statement, "A firearm safety course should be required to get a hunting license." 89% of participants strongly agreed or agreed to this statement. 8% of participants were neutral, 2% of participants disagreed, and only 1% of participants strongly disagreed to the statement, "A firearm safety course should be required to get a hunting license." Males had a significantly lower proportion that agreed that a firearms safety course should be required to get a hunting license. There were no other significant differences. Participants were then asked to indicate how much they agreed or disagreed to the statement, "There should be a background check required by law before someone can buy a firearm." 3/5 of participants strongly agreed to this statement. Almost a third agreed, 8% were neutral, and only 1% of participants disagreed and strongly disagreed to this statement. Furthermore, participants that hunted had significantly lower percentages that agreed that a background check should be required by law. Finally, participants were asked to rate how much they agreed or disagreed to the statement, "There should be laws requiring safe firearm storage." Safe firearm storage was defined as firearms being stored locked and unloaded in a secure location. 3/5 of participants agreed or strongly agreed to this statement. A fourth of participants were neutral, 8% of participants disagreed, and 5% of participants strongly disagreed to the statement, "There should be laws requiring safe firearm storage." Those with significantly lower proportions that agreed to the statement that safe firearm storage should be required by law include males, those 16 to 18 years old, those living on farms or in the country, those with firearms in their homes, and those with unsafe firearm storage. In conclusion, over 1/3 of FFA members personally knew someone who was killed or injured by a firearm, and about 5% had seen someone or personally been threatened with a firearm. The majority of youth in this study agreed that hunting and sport shooting should be kept legal, but they were also in favor of firearm safety measures, such as required training, background checks, and safe firearm storage. Screening at healthcare visits or in schools may help identify youth with negative personal experiences from firearms who might benefit from mental health intervention.